Hey everyone, hey amazing INF people. It's good to be here with you today. My name is Maria and this is today's live Q&A. So we have some amazing questions coming in from some of you and I am very much looking forward to starting these conversations and hoping that you will also continue them after I've addressed them initially. If you don't know much about these topics, you can always just like the video, love the video, hate the video, go like on the video, whatever you want, but let's get these conversations going. If you don't know what to comment, just say, hey, I've noticed that myself, or I have never noticed that about myself, or can you tell me more about that, or yeah, I like what you talked about that time. This is my experience in it. So let's share our experiences so that we can all learn from each other. Okay, so let's get going. Today's first question is from Lisa Ray. Have you noticed if inner parenting looks different when you're around your parents or older relatives? I have noticed in myself and other people that we tend to revert more to childlike behaviors and mannerisms around parents, and I wondered if there were unique things about inner parenting in these situations that are helpful to know. Thanks. Well, first of all, great question, Lisa Ray. Fantastic question. And the short answer to your question is yes. We do revert generally back to the childlike parts of us, the parts of us to whom our parents can relate to. So it's almost like we go and we meet with our parents, and then because they have a specific perception of who we are that they're used to because of, your history together, what happens then is that we tend to start reverting back into that way of being, and that's actually oftentimes where the inner child parts of us are become alive, because whatever experiences we had as children are generally still stored in our inner children. So what happens then is that, okay, let's just say I'm going to go and meet with my mother. My father, of course, has passed away, so I can't really do that with him. But let's just say I'm going to go and I meet with my mother. I have to be really careful that I bring all of who I am now as a grown-up to that meeting, instead of just reverting back into that childlike way of being and the childlike patterning and dynamics that we're all kind of used to. And this is a way of setting boundaries. So what I mean by that is that when we are, when we're more than just, when we've developed past, how our parents see us, then it is our job to start setting boundaries around how our parents see us so that they can catch up with who we've now become. So I hope that makes sense, because, it's so easy for everyone to assume, hey, I'm assuming this about you, so now you should be this way. And that's, of course, massive projection. Whether people project onto you consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't really matter. The projection is still there. So it's your job then to educate the person that you have in fact changed. So yes, absolutely, I have noticed that, and I've noticed that in myself. And what happens when you start to set those boundaries and express yourself as the person that you are now is that, you're giving the other person, in this case my mother, I'm giving her an opportunity to get to know me in this new capacity, because I no longer am a 3-year-old child. I no longer am a 10-year-old child. So it's really our job to do the education piece, and at the same time have some grace and understanding with them that in fact, they're not generally trying to project onto you this deliberately, or they don't want you to necessarily never grow up, at least not consciously, that, it's our job to kind of say, hey, this is who I am now. I'd love to get you to know me, and we'll take it from there. There's actually another question that I want to kind of piggyback on this as well. Let me just see. I don't generally read these questions ahead of time, but now I happen to do that. So I just saw this. This one. Sometimes I feel like I'm living two separate lives. One of them is online with my intuitive community of friends who are into personal development and familiar with the 4 people within terminology. Then another life outside with, family and acquaintances who are uninterested in growth and unfamiliar with the 4 people within or any form of healing work. Part of me struggles with the knowledge that this is so separate and a part of me longs for more integrated outer life. What is the best way to approach this dilemma? It's basically the same thing. It's like, if and when you change, because you are the person who has changed, it is now your job, if you want to have a relationship with these people, to be as articulate about expressing who you are, to be as available for them to try and understand, where you're coming from now, as opposed to who they think you are or who they think you should be. And also to build bridges between who they used to know you as and who you now are. So it's the same kind of answer to that. It's like, let's start conversations about these things, because we're all important people here. And by you not sharing parts of you with these people is actually you removing yourself from, you basically stopping them from understanding who you are. Now, I understand that sometimes relationships are so inflamed that anything that you might say about yourself might be triggering the other person or might be taken the wrong way. So I get that. And that's why, having grace for the other person to understand that, your change is possibly frightening them. Having grace for yourself as you're learning to express yourself as this person that they've never seen before is very important, because if you don't give yourself grace for that, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're saying you should already know how to do this perfectly, and you can't know how to do it perfectly until you've done it, until you've failed forward in doing so for 30 times consciously at least. So what's really important here is that people don't hurt people, which means that if people in your life hurt you, it's not because of you, it's because of them. They are hurt. And if you have done enough work, if you can realize that this is what's happening here, and if you can bring yourself into the situation in a balanced way, in a graceful way, in a way that offers grace for both them and yourself, then you're a lot more likely to succeed in allowing this person to get to know you in this capacity that you now know yourself, or your online amazing friends and people that you work with know you as. So I hope that helps with that question. If you need more help with that and you are not a part of our mentoring training program, if you're a part of our mentoring training program, you can bring this question into the mentoring calls in a more specific way. If you're not a part of the mentoring training program and you want to work on this, then get in touch with us at desk@infxproject.com and just say what your situation is, and we might be able to hook you up with some resources, or maybe even a fully qualified mentor to help you navigate through the situation, because it's as complex as the people who are involved. You're a complex being, they're a complex being. There's going to be a lot of kind of navigation that needs to happen around this. And when you're taking something like that on really on your own, and you're just starting up to learn how to express yourself and get to know yourself and those things, it can be really difficult to navigate that situation. So it could be daunting, and you might stop doing it because you might be feeling like you can't do it, and that's fair enough. So have those people who are supporting you, have them stand behind you, and have them actually proactively support you as you're moving through this part of your life. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Whatever questions or answers, or questions or comments or confusions you might have around that, just pop them into the comment section and we'll continue this conversation there.